Obviously, huge win for us. I think that Troy is a tremendously well-coached team. They obviously have got a mature team, significant athletes in a hostile environment, on a short week. And I was pleased with the way we played. Offensively, defensively, we had the one let down in the kicking game in relation to the blocked punt. But the reality of it is we continue to respond, and I think that's the significant thing. The atmosphere down there, again, was a difficult game because of just the crowd noise, and I thought we handled all those things very well. And every time that they would threaten, we tended to answer with a big play ourselves. And then we had some young players that had to step up, and I'm very pleased with that also. And we talked about reacting and responding. And reacting is when you don't know that anything's going to happen, and all of a sudden it happens. And then there's that panic mode. And responding is whenever you know you're going to have opportunities, and you know things are going to be presented to you, and when they are, you respond accordingly. And so I was very, very pleased with some of our younger players that maybe have not seen significant playing time to step up the way that they did. And so leads me to this week, obviously, and we're facing another team that I think is a very, very talented team, a team that's used to winning. They've won the past 2 conference championships. They're used to the transitions. I've had that question already in terms of the transitions, and they've become accustomed to it, and so I don't know that that's a big deal to them. They're very athletic, tremendously multiple. And quite honestly, we need to have that same kind of home atmosphere that we faced this last week. And as I mentioned at Texas State, whenever we had to, change our cadence up and go to a silent cadence because of the crowd noise, we need to have it here this week. And so I'm really want to challenge everybody. We've got an awful lot to play for. We need a great home crowd. We need great student support and crowd noise and all those other kinds of things. And we all recognize that we're going up against the LSU-Alabama game. And that means that, and I understand, people's desires in relation to the state and what have you, but the reality is that we need our fans to show up. We're going to have significant recruits here this weekend that we want to impact, but more importantly, more than anything else, we've got a senior class that I think has really changed the perception of ULM football. And if you look at the number of guys that have been 4-year starters off this senior class and the impact that the blood, sweat, and tears they've put in, but also the impact that they've made, it's huge. And with this being our last home game, obviously it's going to be senior day. And so I want to encourage our fans not just to show up, but to show up early before the ball game. And that way when we walk those seniors out, and you can go right through them, Colton Browning, Jairus Edwards, Vincent Eddy, you can go right down through the list of all the seniors that are in this group. And that they will see a excited crowd, and that way we have a chance to kind of honor them in what I think would be a very, very appropriate way on senior day to have just a tremendous crowd. And so we're excited about this game, and we're excited about all the opportunities that it presents for us, and we're anxious to respond to all those questions.
You did bring it up. I wasn't really going to bring up the LSU-Alabama game.
No, I mean, it's out there, so let's talk about it.
But was there ever an opportunity to change the game time? How does that work with the Sun Belt?
Well, I think that there's obviously there's opportunities to change, but obviously there's also, I think things have to be weighed on the TV value of things, and obviously we're going to have some coverage this week, which has got some significance to it. And then also you're never exactly sure. There's a 2-week window. I think it's 10 days actually prior to where ESPN can change a televised game. For instance, whoever out there, where they can manipulate. And so it becomes a little bit of a moving target, and you can change times, but it does become more difficult in today's environment because, again, some of these games are televised now, and you are kind of locked in once the game becomes a television game.
Just give us an update on who's available at receiver in terms of all the injuries you guys have gone through.
Ron, you're wanting an opportunity. You've been talking about this for a while, and you are now ready, aren't you? And I might take a look at you if you want to come out today. No, Trey Perrier stepped up the other day. Here's a guy that hadn't played in very many games this year, and most of those were a few snaps at the very end of a ball game in kind of a cleanup mode. Hadn't had any balls thrown at him, and he catches 2 passes for 2 touchdowns. That's the way to kind of start your career off, I'd say. Jalen Holly in the very first series really stepped up, and Jalen's been playing a significant amount, but has not had to be a focal point. And now some of these guys are focal points. Obviously we've lost Kenji Jackson for the year, I think, as I mentioned on Sunday, and which we hate for him. And then you've obviously Tavares May, Kobe Harper, Rashawn Caesar obviously missed part of the ball game the other night, as did Jerron Ham. And so it forces us offensively to have to go to an awful lot, a few more different personnel groupings. And so that's what we're kind of working our way through right now. Generally, we'll take 5-6 different personnel groupings into a game. This week, we'll probably be upwards in that 12-15 personnel grouping category because we have to not just get the guys on the field that can make plays in those spots, but we also have to find ways to make sure that somebody's not getting 80 snaps in a row too. And so there'll be a lot of we've always cross-trained our players, and so, for instance, our tight ends can line up at wide receiver, as can our running backs. And those guys can all, in turn, line up at the running back mode, or the quarterbacks can do all this also. And so we'll just have to work our way through it, and it's going to be a little bit more complicated on the sidelines on Saturday than maybe it has been. And so our players are going to have to do a great job in terms of focusing on those different personnel groupings as they're coming on the field.
For sure Jackson out for the year, but what is your anticipation for Caesar and Ham for this weekend?
I think both of them will be ready to go.
Okay.
The number of repetitions, I think, we'll still look at to find out how many that they can get. But Rashawn has an upper body injury, Jerron has a lower body injury, and so consequently, we're going to try to get them some repetitions today, but it will have to be a little bit held back, because we from the contact standpoint. And so we'll see how things go, but I do expect both of them to play some.
Hey, Coach, what does Arkansas State do well, and how much of a carryover is there, if any, of what Gus left behind, so to speak? And the back end of that question, obviously they're a good football team in November. They haven't lost a lot there and play well on the road.
Yeah, they've got a very mature football team against a group that understands how to win. And you're right, they've gone through some transitions from Hugh to Gus and now to Brian, and they are a very, very multiple team from an offensive perspective. There's still some parts left over from Hugh's time period and from Gus's time period. Brian's always been, I think, an offensive innovator. They've got a significant number of trick plays that they've shown during the course of the season. Defensively, I think that transition's been very easy because the defensive coordinator was retained from last year, and so he's running the same defense that he ran last year. And it's a very, very multiple defense. John Thompson's the defense coordinator, does just a fantastic job in terms of keeping you off balance and utilizing his personnel and adjusting to whatever you go out there and try to do. And so we're looking forward to a great chess match along those lines because they do a good job of transitioning game, and they'll make those adjustments, and we're excited about that opportunity to do the same.
But you'd be disappointed a little bit too with the deep calls, I guess, if I can recall from that Troy game. Defensively, is that something continue to work at?
Well, yeah, I mean it is, but I'm also going to give the other guys some credit too. They've got 2 outstanding senior quarterbacks that really understand coverages, and because they are so committed to throwing the football around, they know how to manipulate you to get you in a one-on-one situation, and then to utilize the leverage that you're playing at that point in time. I'm talking about the leverage of the secondary player. And they were 25th nationally passing, in passing offense, I think, going into the game. And so, while you're right, we'd love to make every play. We also recognize too that, especially as I mentioned earlier with Baylor, and I'll say it again with Troy, when you're facing offenses that are that prolific at throwing the football, you're going to give up some plays. And the thing that we did, I think, a really good job of is we limited some of their explosion plays. They had less against us than they had against everybody else. And that's kind of what you're shooting for, is that benchmark in relation to, are we giving up less than what they're accustomed to getting? And I think that was a good benchmark to aim for. And I thought our defense did a nice job.
What can you say about, you pretty much since you've been here, watched their offense gone guided by Ryan Applin. With this guy that's come in, transferred in Kennedy, is there a lot of similarities? Because you said that there's a lot of leftover things that Gus Malzahn had implemented, but is he kind of have some of those same similarities with running this offense?
Yeah, I don't know if they're actual the exact same plays. It's more the thought process that's carried forward. But no, he's a big quarterback. He throws the ball well. He's not afraid to run it. I don't know that he's going to win a bunch of races out there in relation to racing the rest of his football team, but he's aggressive, and sometimes a quarterback doesn't have to gain 30 yards every time he rushes, but if he's aggressive in terms of attacking, he makes that commitment and then he attacks it, and that's what this young man does. Then that can really stress you defensively. I mean, it really can. I mean, we're seeing it. All of a sudden we've got two healthy quarterbacks again. And so we're doing some different things now, and it's changing the way defenses have to play us. And that's what this young man is willing to do. He throws a nice ball, got an outstanding receiver in McKissick. Okay, he's a young player, but he's really a dynamic player, great running back in Oku. And so they have a lot of weapons still that are left over that are familiar names to our players and to the conference.
Given some of the changes you have to deal with this week, do you foresee Centarius Donald's role changing in terms of the offensive team, in terms of maybe catching passes out of the backfield, and maybe running the ball a little bit more?
Maybe. Ron, you just want me to give out the whole game plan. I mean, you're just like, no, Centarius, his role is obviously picking up because he's becoming more game ready. Early in the season when he had those first snaps, not early in the season, but mid-season when he started getting those first snaps, he wasn't in great game shape, and he hadn't had all the practice repetitions, and the chemistry with the quarterbacks weren't there. And now he's been practicing for a little bit longer. He's getting in better game shape, and so consequently his role is increasing each and every week. And I would foresee that we're going to continue to do that because obviously he's been tremendously productive with his opportunities.
With the unfortunateness, is that one word?
I don't believe so, but we'll go with it.
Okay. With what's happened at receiver, you hate for that to happen at any time.
Sure.
But with talking to some of those younger guys after the Troy game, they say that, if it's going to happen, at least you have a veteran quarterback like Colton back there, because they were saying how much he brings them along. You see the same type of thing, that it's an advantage to have a veteran quarterback because they can guide some of these guys like a walk-on freshman or a redshirt freshman in those instances.
I don't think there's any question that the person that really coaches the receivers, and not taking Coach Nichols and Coach Price do a wonderful job, but ultimately in terms of the timing of the throw is the quarterback. They're the ones that teach the receivers what the timing of the throw is. And so we constantly talk to our quarterbacks about, you control the timing and you throw when you're ready. That teaches those players when to be there, and then have a conversation with them about when you expected them to do the things that they do. If you're going to say, would you rather have a mature receiver group or a mature quarterback, I'll take the mature quarterback every time because of that. Now, I think it does impact a little bit of the timing and chemistry because sometimes the young players tend to kind of float around a little bit more. They're not maybe quite as sure of the coverage as the quarterback is, and so the quarterback has to hang on to the ball a little bit longer because he's not exactly sure if this guy saw exactly what an older player might have seen. And that's what we've got to obviously focus on this week. Now, one of the things that we try to do a good job of all through preseason, from preseason camp on, is making sure that we're mixing and matching our quarterbacks and our receivers. And that way there is a little bit of chemistry that's already starting to develop. It's not where the first quarterback is only going to take snaps with the first group of receivers. Every day in practice and every 5-minute period, he's going to take a snap or two at the twos so that he starts learning those guys. And then occasionally we'll do the same thing with the second team quarterback in relation to the first receiving group to make sure that we don't have a tremendous imbalance there. And hopefully that paid off this last week. I think it did to some degree, and we're hopeful that it'll continue.
What's it been like for you coaching Colton just over the time you've been here in terms of what he came in as and what he is now?
You know, I've talked many times about Colton, and I'm very proud of him. I've been coaching quarterbacks a long time, and I think that the quarterback and the quarterback coach relationship is just a really, really unique relationship. I've coached other positions too, and while I enjoyed the positions I coached and the players that I coached, there's a different relationship, and so I've. Colton has just been a tremendous joy to coach, and his desire, willingness, dedication to getting better on a daily basis, the way that he enjoys the game, makes my job so much easier and so much more enjoyable, because the fact that he hangs on every word still to this day. You know, he's suggesting things, as I've mentioned before, started that last year, to where he's making these suggestions. Matter of fact, the last touchdown pass, was something against Troy that I had a little bit of concern about the play, quite honestly. But he wanted the play. That's what he called it during the timeout. He goes, "I want this," and I said, "Okay, here's the things we're dealing with. This is what you want." And he goes, "Yes, that's what I want," and so we ran it, and he made it happen. It's close, right? But he made it happen, and that, again, I think he trusts the staff. I think he trusts me. I trust him, and that's if you've got trust, then you can go a long way with things, and I think we have that, and so it's been just really, really fun. It's been, I thought we'd lost him earlier in the season, so I was already kind of prepared for, what this will be his last opportunity to play in Malone Stadium, which is really kind of unthinkable when you start thinking about how long he's played here, and how many snaps he's played, how many, thrills and joys he's brought to the Warhawk fans. And so that's part of the reason why we need a great crowd. I want him. He deserves, along with the rest of the seniors, they deserve to go out the right way and to be appreciated. And so I'm, again, hopeful that people will come out and appreciate them.
And expanding on that, this whole senior class, when they come down and they're redshirt freshmen, and in some instances, I guess, they're true freshmen, and there's a lot of guys that had to buy in at any time with the coaching change. And for them to not only buy in, but to be at the point where, like you said, change the perception of ULM football. I mean, has this added extra emphasis to the senior day? And can you, pick out different moments throughout the last 4 years where this was a monumental moment of they needed to buy into this so that this could happen? Or
Absolutely. I mean, and it's quite honestly during this week, because of just we've had a little bit more time this week to prepare. Not significant, but enough, but it does give you an opportunity, I think, to have a retrospective look at some things about the individual, about the group, about what point in time did they become that mature man and mature player. And so again, and wow, you look at how many of these guys have been 4-year starters. I mean, that doesn't happen very often when you've got a senior class that's coming through. This is, they've played a lot of football. These guys have been 4-year starters for us, common household names, really. Almost to the point to where it's like they're going to be here forever, And obviously, there's been, again, a retrospective look this week for me, anyway, in relation to those moments, and recognizing that this is the last time I'm going to see them on the field. And with every senior class, that always makes me a little bit sad. This one, maybe even more so, because of just what they've put into it. I know what they've put into it. I know what they've had to overcome. And so tremendously proud of the group, always will be, regardless of how the rest of the season finishes and regardless of how this game finishes. I just very appreciative of what they did from a program standpoint. I'm very appreciative of making our lives as coaches that much easier and that much more enjoyable, and they've just been a great group to work with.
Coach, you certainly set the bar. I was just kind of glancing too deep. It looked like you only got 8 seniors on your 2 deep across both sides. So obviously there's a lot of kids coming back whose bar has been set pretty high.
Yeah, I think while we've got a number of seniors that we're going to honor, there's a significant number of that group right now that have got some injuries and some of those kind of things that aren't playing for us, and thus so they're not on the 2 deep. But, this is still relatively a young team, I think, based off of returning starters for next year. Not that we need to discuss it, but it was brought to my attention here just recently by a media member, kind of the same thing that you mentioned. This is not necessarily a senior-laden team. And I think we have the second most returning starters coming back next year within the conference. I think that a lot of this, the maturity of this football team, is derived somewhat by the fact that Colton Browning's played for 4 years, and Jairus Edwards has started for 4 years, and Tavares May has started for 4 years, and Jerron Ham and Josh Allen, Jon Fisher, Vincent Eddy, Isaiah Newsome. I mean, all these Cameron Blakes, all these guys have been 4-year starters. And so while obviously, and they've made a huge impact, Madison Tharp, long snapper. And so the maturity's coming from the fact that, you've got all these guys that have been 4-year starters, but in terms of maturity and where you're overloaded in the senior class, we've balanced our classes out pretty nicely right now. And so, we've got 17, 18 in each one of the classes, and that's a good thing. That's kind of the way it should be.
With the Thursday night game of anticipation of Baylor and Oklahoma, you are one of the few teams that have played both. And
I knew I was going to get this question.
I know, I was waiting for the end.
Yeah.
But how, are you really, you actually be able to kind of watch it since it's a Thursday night.
I am. I'm excited to watch it.
After all that time of seeing, what they've done after playing you guys, what are you, I don't want to say anticipating, but do you think that after going up against OU's defense, this could be maybe like the most equal matchup that they might get this year?
I haven't paid as much attention. I know that Oklahoma's had some significant injuries, some impactful injuries, and from on defense and offensive standpoint, I think Baylor's relatively healthy. And those injuries, as Mark Ricks found out at Georgia and Pat Fitzgerald's found out at Northwestern, and all these guys are friends. Sometimes you go through a season and everything's great and you're healthy. And then sometimes you have some injuries and they hurt. And I think right now Bob's probably feeling a little bit it's going to be tough because he's lost some really, really key players. And you lose those guys and you just don't replace those type of guys. And so I don't know what the outcome of it is, but I know that I feel for Bob in relation to that he's not going in 100%. And I think Baylor's a very, very good football team, and especially down there. I understand that they have taken down some window dressings that they have in the stadium to allow for more seating, and so it should be a huge game. And I'm really excited to watch the game. Two great coaches, outstanding staffs, and two very good football teams. And obviously, because we played them both this year, I'll be anxious to watch how each one of them try to impact the other.
Does the added emphasis on the fact that you guys are neck and neck in the Sun Belt race add any more added pressure on this game?
Well, I don't know that. I think that I kind of mentioned to the team even after our loss to Western Kentucky that we had control of our own destiny from this point on, but that destiny was going to be completed only if we won all the rest of our ball games. And so consequently, I think every one of the games from that point on had significance to it because, I think it's very difficult to go through this conference without a loss. Two starts kind of pushing it a little bit and still have an opportunity to be conference champion, although whenever I was here in 2005, we finished 5-6, and tied for the conference championship because everybody tended to lose more than that number of games. So I think that we're excited about the game because it's the next game. And Ron, as I mentioned before, I think we've got to that point now from a team standpoint where we're back to where we're really focusing on one game at a time. And quite honestly, it's not just the health. While we're a healthier football team right now, and that's what the bye week did for us, I think a lot of this so much of this game's emotional, and the negativity from early in the season to the we're enjoying playing the game right now, and that's a big part of it. And so I think we're not concerned. I think we're excited, and we know that we've got a great opponent coming in, and we're excited to meet that challenge.
So you think that the team will take the same standpoint on all the emotions of Senior Day with the next win, get you bowl eligible, and the fact that the senior class has never beaten Arkansas State? Do you think that all of that mindset will continue to be the same with all those different peripheral opponents?
The peripheral opponents, you threw it out there. Very good. Yes, I think so. I think we've got a nice set of blinders on right now. We're just excited to play this game. And regardless of what all the benefits are of winning the game, it doesn't really make any difference. Not if you're a good player and you've got a good football team. You've got an opportunity to play, and that's always got to be the most significant thing. And if that's the most significant thing, then everything else is icing on the cake. And so if your focal point is that, which I think our focal point is that right now as a football team, then you don't have to worry about some of those peripheral opponents. And here you go bringing up history again. And while I hate history. I mean, it's just history has no bearing on today. None. And I understand what you're saying. Our senior class, as you mentioned, has not beat this group before. But I don't think that means that it changes this game. It's a different football team. They got a different football team. They even got different staff. And so that has no bearing on this game. The only thing that matters right now is now. So Saturday is now. And that's what we're concerned with.
Any other questions for Coach Berry?
Just waiting for the whole string of nows. Take care of its future.
No, you've already got that. You've already got that message too many times. But you did bring it up, so you were opening yourself up to it.
I know. Sorry about the history.
No, that's, thank y'all.
That was my minor. Maybe that's what it is. It's just always kind of.
Yeah.
Why not?
Senior offensive lineman Jon Fisher, floor is open for questions.
I know you heard me ask Coach Berry about the different significant moments of trying to buy into the program as a redshirt freshman, and what are some moments that stick out to you as turning points to the point where y'all are where y'all are today with the whole change perception of ULM football?
Well, I was a true freshman when Barry came here, so I was his first recruiting class. But I know that a lot of those guys had a tough spring with them before I got here, and I know that followed up through fall camp and the next year, and we're here. To put a single point on it might be tough because there's a lot of summer workouts where I could say, oh, this is the turning point, or a lot of fourth quarters, this is the turning point. But I just think that collectively as a group, you see a group of seniors that came in here, and when I came here, we were 6-6 that year, my senior year in high school, and that's an average team. And we wanted to be great. And that was the best thing about coming in here is there was the opportunity to change a program and for a senior class to really bring a whole football team together to make that change happen.
Coach talked about taking it game by game. There's still a lot of work to be done. There's 3 big games up on the horizon, 2 of them away from the house.
Yeah, there is. But like I said, take game by game. I'm not sure who we play the rest of the season. I'm focused on Arkansas State. I can't wait to play them. Can't wait for the opportunity to play our last game at Malone Stadium and bring another home win for the fans this week.
Coach has talked a lot about when Colton's in there about just blocking for that extra second. He's got to make something happen. Do you feel the same way, and does it feel like it's just a collective across the offensive line? Because when he's in there, it seems like he gets that extra second almost every time. Or maybe it's just because he is so good at being a magician and escaping things.
Yeah, I think there's an added level. A couple of years ago, if you look back when my sophomore year, he got hit a lot. He had a lot of injuries our first 2 years here. And if you look at the last couple of years, that extra second's been there because, a lot of guys want to keep him healthy because we've seen what Colton can do over and over and over again, and that's produce exciting, big-time plays. And when we do our job for even that extra split second, he can usually make something happen. And, there's a lot of time where he bails us out, and I'll give it – it goes both ways because, there's times we bail him out as well. But, man, that when he wants to make a play, he's going to do it. It doesn't really matter whether we're there or not sometimes. But help him out, helps the team out, and gets us the end result when we want it. Middle Tennessee.
You're on bus 3, you're sitting right home, maybe talking on the phone, hey, I'm getting my first start this week. It seems like forever ago,
Yeah,
right?
I know.
But, did you ever think from maybe those first couple of meetings of talking to him and just the intelligence that he has of the game and the passion of coaching and everything that y'all would ever be at this point where you're graduating, you've already got one bowl under your belt, and all of your goals are still out in front of you?
It's weird to think about that was 4 years ago. I remember that bus ride. I was mad I was on bus 3, but I got my own seat. I do remember that. But, yeah, I thought that we could do everything that when he recruited me, the pitch was, we're going to change the program. we're going to win the Sun Belt Championship, we're going to go to a bowl game, and we're going to make history. And none of us knew that making history, maybe beating the number 8 team and going to a bowl game as juniors, but it's going to turn into a continuation of now, because if we do our job week in, week out, we have everything on the table to where we can get that first Sun Belt Championship ring. And, for a guy that didn't go to state championship in high school, and besides in powerlifting, I don't have a ring. And there's guys that played in, maybe 3 or 4 in high school and still don't have a ring. So it'd be just a great opportunity for us to get a ring and really make, our mark on ULM for the rest of the time that ULM's ever around.
You said that the negativity is gone from earlier in the season. What are some things that you can pinpoint in the locker room that are just really different right now, and just seems like the team is so focused on running the table the rest of the way?
I don't think there was as much. There was, from time to time, everybody has their bumps, and I think the beginning of the season was just a bump along this long ride we've always been on, and the negativity it disappeared. And I'm not sure what made it disappear. I'm not sure what even brought it in the locker room. I just, a couple bad games, Baylor, and that's hard to shake that one off. But then you come back, and all of a sudden, everybody just wants to play ball. Everybody's enjoying each other again. I think on the field, off the field, playing the game, and coaches say, just have fun, and everybody's finally having fun, and the results are fun as well.
Any other questions for Jon?
All right, thank y'all.
Last up, senior specialist, Madison Tharp. The floor is open for questions.
Just describe what your 4 years have been like here, just the roller coaster ride, everything you guys have gone through as a team.
It's been really fun. Coming here as a walk-on and earning my way to get a scholarship, my sophomore year, and hanging out with all these guys. It's been a really good time. We all hang out together, do everything together. Especially the wins we had last year. It's just been really fun.
You're one of the few on this team that's kind of a local homeboy, so to speak, and that probably adds a little bit more special something to your run, and the chance to have your dad and family around here to watch you play every week, but closing out a 4-year career right here in your backyard.
Yeah, can't wait for that. We got a big crowd hopefully coming this weekend that can support us and watch us get a good win against a really good Arkansas State team. And can't wait to have everybody's family out here, especially before the game. See all these seniors, parents, moms, and dads come out here, get to hug our dads on the neck and kiss our moms on the forehead, and then strap them up and go play a game.
So not the cheek. You're too tall to reach down for the cheek, the forehead.
Yeah.
How nice would it be to talk about controlling your own destiny, and if you're able to win out, all your goals are right there in front of you, and then you have your dad who's having this great season, and for y'all to kind of be able to share this together and some of that success, does that add some extra special?
Yeah, for me on Friday nights when we're either in the hotel or in here, doing our team stuff, I'm always checking, of course your tweets on Twitter, and I've got people texting me updates and stuff like that, but it's always exciting keeping up with his stuff, especially with the team that he's had in the past couple of years, and the expectation that Mangum has, and the expectation that we have as well. It's always exciting for us to go out there and play, and the opportunities that we have with the players that we have, and just can't wait to get back out in the field and play a ball game.
But I should say a question to ask Jon, and that's talking about the first time you were in here, which for you is even more unknown, being a walk-on and things, and all these different points that you've had throughout your career. Did you ever think that from the time you walked in and met Coach Berry for the first time, not only would you earn a scholarship, but the team would just have a complete turnaround from these, this is the middle of the pack ULM type of conference team to, favorites?
All right. Well, for me coming in here, I didn't really know what I was getting into. I just wanted to play football, But once I got to know the guys, once I got to know Colton and people like John O. and that class that I came in with, I got to understand more that the mentality of our class coming in there compared to maybe a few of the other, maybe not a whole class, but a few of the people that were in the upperclassmen whenever we came in. But I feel like we came in and wanted to change this program around collectively, and I think we've accomplished that, not fully so far, but partially, and not done yet. We're going to keep going.